places within the New Testament, the feeding of the 5,000 comes in all 4 Gospels, but the walking on the water is only in 3 of the Gospels. But in the 3 Gospels that it's in, it's always preceded by the story of the feeding of the 5,000. So there is a connection, and even we'll go and have a look. And the reason why Yeshua walks on the water is because they didn't understand the message of the feeding of the 5,000. And it's written in one of the accounts of the walking on the water. The reason why he walked on the water was because of the lack of understanding of the feeding of the 5,000. So we've got to go back and have a look at this story in order to understand the walking on the water. And this is all about maturation again. And there's a lot of very hidden teaching in this. And we're going to see how that marries up to the Torah of Moshe, and to reveal some of the wonderful things that we need to do to get that wisdom that's hidden in the storms, the waves of judgment. We need that wisdom out, that light of Chokhmah we need out through the power of kindness, through advocacy, through thinking, speaking and doing kindness. Okay, so I'm not going to read any of this. I'm just going to talk about what I've just talking about. This is the feeding of the 5,000. Everybody, I presume, would know that, the whole story, so I'm not going to go over it. I'm just going to point stuff out. 5 loaves of bread, 2 fishes. Okay, that's the feeding of the 5,000. You all know the story. I don't need to go into any detail. Let's just go through what I've highlighted then. This is the one from Matthew. Yeshua walks on water. Right, so what I've done in bold, I'm going to go over. It says, "Lord, if it is you," Peter said, "command me to come to you on the water." "Come," said Yeshua, Jesus. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water and came toward Yeshua. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, as Master, save me. Immediately, Yeshua reached out his hand and took hold of Peter. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed back into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." Okay, so Peter, because of a lack of faith and doubt, couldn't calm the water down. He wasn't able to have that power that Yeshua had, that Yosef had, and that Yonah had. What was the power? We've already talked about it. It's the light of Chassidim, the light of kindness. Okay, and the spirit of truth. The spirit of truth. Okay, and truth and faith are basically synonymous. Okay, because doubt comes through a lack of faith, and it's very much related to let me just quickly say this because it's very difficult to say it, but you've got an entire system of revelation, a hidden system, the way that Yod-Heh-Waw is working throughout the entire 6,000 years of history to bring about a revelation of his name, Yod-Heh-Waw. Okay, faith is about having faith in the entire system of revelation, including the concept of the coming of the Moshiach and including the resurrection of the dead. Okay, so perfect faith is really when you understand, you know the name Yod-Heh-Waw, but you also know the system through which his name is revealed. You know the system, and that system is basically synonymous with the entire concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. The hidden way that Yod-Heh-Waw is working in absolute perfection and sovereignty to bring about his ultimate will, which is to reveal his name to the entire of creation. Okay, so faith is in not just in the name, but in the way he reveals his name, the system through which he perfectly works to reveal his name. But you have no understanding of that system without the truth, Od Yosef Chai, because that truth reveals that process, those 5 stages of maturation that we've got to go through in order to reach that place where his name is fully revealed. Okay, and that is very much linked to the barley harvest. that is linked to the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. There's 5 processes, 5 main stages in this whole system of revelation that we've got to go through, and each stage is necessary in order to get to the end stage. Okay, so when he's saying you have little faith, why did you doubt? It's not just doubt in the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. It's not understanding, not having the knowledge and the understanding of the way Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh works as well, because you haven't got sufficient truth. And in this context, truth and faith are almost synonymous. You can't have one without the other. You can't have complete faith without truth. And what have you got faith in if you haven't got the truth of how Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh has been working? They go together. So you have little faith. It's really you didn't understand how Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh worked. And it was a message for the future. It's all connected to this calming of the storm at the end of exile. So it's almost like what's that word? You get shown something in advance, and then you'll see its fulfillment later on. I can't remember the word for it, but this was like he was showing us where we would ultimately end up. We would perfect our faith and move from a situation where we are dependent on another for our salvation to a place where we have revealed that power of salvation within us, that power that has got that light of Hasidim within us, that has got the same power to calm down those waves of judgment. We have revealed within us, because we've got the truth Od Yosef Chai and an understanding of the entire system with which Yod-Heh-Waw has been revealing himself through a process of maturation over the entire course of this last 2,000 years, but also the entire 6,000 years of human history, the 6 days of creation, the 6,000 years, the big days, this whole system which has been preparing us for that final redemption, which is a final revelation of the absolute oneness, perfection and sovereignty of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, and we're able to receive that. Okay, so he didn't understand that, but now we're looking from a place of hindsight. We have got the privilege of being able to see just what has been occurring, what Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh has been occurring, and if we look at history very objectively and clearly, we will see and we will be able to say we have experienced the way Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh has revealed himself, and this should overcome any doubts that we have in the oneness and sovereignty and perfection of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Okay. Anyway, I've got to go and we'll have a look at the feeding of the 5,000 again. Here, look, five loaves and 2 fish. They were 5 barley loaves, by the way. So this is from Mark, the Gospel of Mark. 5 barley loaves, which is very significant. And I've done teachings. I did a teaching recently called Vayikra. It's all about the spring. And the first, 20 minutes of that talk about the entire 5 processes that are involved in the maturation of the barley grain from pollination to full ripening. There's 5 stages involved: the water stage, the milk stage, the soft dough stage, the hard stage, and the full ripening stage. And these are very synonymous with the 5 stages of maturation of the entire system, the 5 levels within the system of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh revealing his perfection. Okay, the whole system of revelation and concealment. So going from that place of immaturity to full maturity. So it's all connected to that, the whole concept of the barley harvest, and then obviously the barley harvest is all connected to the concept of the calendar, and then the festivals. Okay, right, let's go to the next one. So I'm just pointing things out here. So 5 loaves and 2 fish, what could that be pointing at? So now we need to start to marry this concept that we find within the feeding of the 5,000 that somehow we know is related to the walking on the water. And I will come up, first of all, I want to look at this because we need to understand how does this then marry up with what we find in the Torah of Moshe. Okay. This was pointing to the 7 pillars, the 5 books of Torah that are counted as 7, the 5 books of Torah that reveal the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh and the concept of the Moshiach of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, which is Moshe and Yeshua, within the letter of the Torah, and the 2 primary prophets who, through the Spirit of truth, reveal the light of Moshiach. Okay, Yonah the prophet reveals the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef, Od Yosef Chai, and also reveals the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh above the letter of the Torah. Eliyahu Hanavi is the prophet that passes this truth to Yaakov, who is empowered to overcome the forces of exile and bring unity of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh revealed within the letter of the Torah, and Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh revealed out with the letter of the Torah at the level of Keter Yechida, as found in the book of Micah chapter 7. That's the Torah of Moshiach ben Yosef. And in bringing unity between those, we reveal Moshiach ben David. Moshiach ben David unites the final redemption and shalom for all creation. Well, he unites those 2 names together, and that ushers in final redemption. Okay, so we've got these connection then to the 7 pillars, haven't we? Because we've got 5 loaves, which are the 5 main books of Torah, and then this concept of 2 fish. But there is within the teachings of Moshe, you've got this concept of 7 pillars, which we're going to look at, and there's actually 7 books of Torah, hidden 2 books. Okay, and then we've got this, the letter Nun, as in Joshua ben Nun, means fish in Aramaic. So we've got this concept of Nun related to Joshua. It means fish, as in the 2 fish. Okay, and then we've got the Torah is likened to the bread of heaven. So let's go and have a look at these 7 pillars that are counted as the 5 books of Moshe that are counted as 7 pillars. So you've got this is taken from an actual Torah scroll, and it's not the best copy, but you'll see that these 2 verses here from Numbers 10, 35 and 36 are split up with these strange letter nuns. This is an inverted nun, so it's backward way around. It's like mirror flipped, mirror image of it's inverted. Sometimes it's upside down. Okay, the nun is actually written upside down. Okay, so this, according to the rabbis, and this is this verse, so it was when the ark set out, Moshe would say, "Arise, O Lord, may your enemies be scattered, and may those who hate you flee from you." And when it came to rest, he would say, "Repose, O Lord, among the myriads and thousands of Israel." So the rabbis say, basically, the Gemara asks, according to whose opinion is that which Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman said, that Rabbi Yonatan said, that with regard to the verse, with wisdom she built her house, she carved its 7 pillars, Proverbs 9:1. These are the 7 books of the Torah. According to whose opinion? It is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda and Nasai, as by his count there are 7 books of Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, until and when the ark travelled. So he says Numbers is split into 3 books. It's the first book in Numbers is up until here, and then these 2 verses are an entire book on its own, and then there's another book, the rest of Numbers, after this inverted nun. Okay, and that's Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, which is the author of the Mishnah. Okay, so this is the entire basis on which the Talmud and the Gemara are written. Okay, so we know he's very significant. He's a great authority within Yehuda. He's very great authority, basically. So there's 3 books within the book of Numbers, so that would take you to a total of 7. Okay, which is considered its own book, and the remainder of Numbers and Deuteronomy, and that's in the Talmud, Shabbat 116, and 116 is Moshiach ben Yosef, by the way. That's the number for the ordinal of Moshiach ben Yosef. So Shabbat 116a. Okay, and then just to point this out, when they're taking the Torah out of the ark in the synagogue, they say this saying. So I want to just link this into the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef, who is Zion, and also Moshiach ben David, who is Jerusalem. So that, what we just looked at, let's just go back so we're very, very clear about this. This particular verse is sang when they're taking the Torah out of the ark. I don't really want to sing it, but Wahi bin Soa Aran, Wayome Moshe, Kumar Adonai, Wayafutsu Oyevecha, Wayanusu Mesanecha, Miponecha. Okay, so that first section of this particular verse, and then this is what is said when they're bringing the Torah back. But if we go when they're bringing the Torah out to the blessing that they say when they're bringing the Torah out, this is the blessing when they're bringing the Torah out. So the first part of that part of the Torah, those two verses, the first verse of those two verses is said when they're bringing the Torah out. The second verse of the two verses is said when they're taking the Torah back. So Wahi bin Soa Aaron Wayomer Moshe Kumar Adonai Wayafutsu Oyevecha Wayanusu Mesanecha Miponecha Ki Mitzion Tetze Torah Udvar Adonai Mirushalayim Baruch Shanatan Torah La'amo Israel Bikdushato. Okay, and this is it. Whenever the ark travelled, Moshe would say, and the entire synagogue sings this, by the way, mainly the men, and they sing it to a particular song. And if you want to listen to it, you just go like removing the ark from the removing the Torah from the ark, and see if you can find the song. But it's it's really wonderful when you hear the song sung in the synagogue. It's really wonderful. So we can see whenever the ark travelled, Moshe would say, "Arise, Adonai, and let your enemies be scattered, and those who hate you flee from before you. For from Zion will go forth the Torah and the word of Adonai from Jerusalem." So Zion is an appellation for Moshiach ben Yosef, because Zion has got the exact same gematria as Yosef, 156. And we know that Jerusalem is an appellation for Moshiach ben David. So really, the Torah should be bringing us a revelation of Moshiach ben Yosef that leads to that revelation of Moshiach ben David. Okay? So that's all more interesting stuff. So let's just have a look at this verse then. And because we know that it's related to, we know this part is related to the Moshiach. And many people shall go, and they shall say, "Come, let us go up to the Lord's mount, to the house of the God of Yaakov, and let him teach us of his ways, and we will go in his paths. For out of Zion shall the Torah come forth, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Okay, so from here, we're going to look at a couple of these. This is an entire, looking at those 7 books is an entire teaching on its own. I'm just going to dip my feet in and show you how that's related to some of the things that we're talking about. Okay, because it's all just one wonderful marriage of the wisdom within the Torah of Moshe and the wisdom within the Torah of Moshiach ben Yosef. So let's go and have a look at some of these numbers. We're going to look at 1017, and I think this number here. Let's have a quick look. Just going to go through this quickly. So we've got the concept of year, Shana. It comes to 1017. So straight away, this is related to Shana, year. And we know from my teachings that this concept, this 355, is absolutely and totally related to the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. Moshiach ben Yosef is related to the concept of the year, and is related to the concept of the sun, which determines the years. Okay, it's the solar lunar calendar, or the luni-solar calendar, whichever way you want to say it. But the Hebrew calendar is luni-solar or solar-lunar. Like I say, whichever way you want to say it. It's the sun determines the year, the moons determine the months, and those are brought into perfect unity. The sun represents Moshiach ben Yosef, the moon represents Moshiach ben David, and in nearly every teaching I've done there's always those numbers that come up for the sun and for the moon, and how they link up to Moshiach ben Yosef and Moshiach ben David. So I won't particularly be going through those numbers because I go through them all the time. So 355, it's 5 times Yonah for a start, 5 times 71. It's also, so we know that's linked to the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. 355 are the 3 words used to describe the sun. The Hame'or, the luminary, Hame'or Agadol Hayom, the luminary that is big in the day. It's come to 355. 355 is also Pharaoh. We know Yosef was like Pharaoh, okay, or subject to Pharaoh. So we know that year represents Moshiach ben Yosef. There's everything that points to that. Again and again and again and again. The month and the moon represent Moshiach ben David. And like I say, I go through that all the time. And so there we go. And the new moon basically is Moshe. The gematria of the new moon and Moshe, they're the same gematria. I think it's 312 and 33. Add them together, they come to 345, which is Moshe. So there's the new moon, the full moon, which is Moshiach ben David, really. And then the sun is Moshiach ben Yosef. So we've got this concept of the Vav. These are the gematria, the regular gematria, comes to 225. Let's just bring it all up so see where we're going. Okay, so this is Vav filled 3-way. Vav filled 3-way basically represent the 3 aspects of Moshiach. The Vav filled this way, which is just Vav Vav, represents Moshe. The Vav filled with the Aleph, and this is a whole other teaching as well, I can't go through with this. The Vav filled with the Aleph, and the Aleph represents the hidden secrets of Yod He Waw He. This is Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, you can see, I can show you how that points to Moshiach ben Yosef, but not in this lesson. And the Vav filled with the Yod, this is to the second filling. It represents Moshiach ben David. Okay, how do we know that? Well, we can even see this from the squared ordinals of this come to 496. We said the 355, the 3 ways that the luminary, the big luminary of the day is described, comes to 355. The 3 words Hame'or, Hagadol, Hayom, the luminary that is big at the day. The luminary that is big at night, Hame'or, Hakatan, Halayla, comes to 496. So we know that this Vav filled this way is related to Moshiach ben David, because 496 is also the gematria of ruddy with beautiful eyes, which is the way that Moshiach ben David is described. That comes to 496. 496 is also the gematria of Malkuth, kingdom, as in the kingdom of David established on earth. So add these together, 355, 496 comes to 851, which is 37 times 23. 37 is Yechida, 23 is Chaya. Yechida is the soul level of Moshiach ben Yosef. Chaya is the soul level of Moshiach ben David. Okay, I go through all those numbers all the time, but bearing in mind, if we take the square regular of all these, the Vav filled, which represents the revelation of Moshiach, Moshe, Moshiach ben Yosef, Moshiach ben David, the truth, and the fundamental truth, that one that's missing, Od Yosef Chai, because without that, without the secrets that reveal that truth, Od Yosef Chai, we don't get the full revelation of the name Yod He Waw He. The truth is not fully revealed. But anyway, we've got the square regular here, the 144 from this filling out, the 7,447 for this filling, and the 496 from this filling, which we've just gone on, we've just talked about, which represents Moshiach ben David, comes to 8,087, which is the 1,017th prime. Takes us back to this, takes us back to this. Okay. This will be the prime from 1, counting 1 as a prime as it is counted in Hebrew. To the dry land. Okay, so we're talking about Yosef caused the coffin Yosef's coffin caused the sea to flee, so that the children of Israel could walk over dry shod. They went over on dry land, to dry land. Okay, Liya ba Shah, and that's the word used to describe that. it's 347, and that 347 is related to Moshiach, because Moshiach ben David 92, Moshiach ben Yosef 116, the ordinal of both of those, and Moshiach ben Ephraim 129, add them together come to 347. Okay, so it's very much related. They went through when we've got a complete understanding of the concept of Moshiach. That is what you go through on. That's what causes it to go through dry land. And obviously the coffin of Yosef and all these things that we're talking about, stilling the waves of judgment. Okay, and Eretz, land, is connected to Malkuth kingdom. This dry land can be seen as a code for Moshiach, which is very, very clear code for Moshiach. But if we take this and then the squared ordinal of to dry land, it comes to 1061, which is related to this up here. Where do we get that from? We get that from the Mispah Gadol numbering. And the Mispah Gadol numbering is related to that exact moment where Yosef's coffin, and I've done teachings about this before in the book with Yosef's coffin. The teachings I've done about Yosef's coffin, the Mispah Gadol numberings are connected to that revelation where Yosef's coffin splits the sea. Okay, at that exact point, it's related to the Mispah Gadol numberings. There's a definite and absolute connection between that. So the Mispah Gadol numberings themselves are indicative of that moment of final redemption, where, you know, the bones of the merit of Moshiach ben Yosef suffering in exile brings us into that place where the dry land is revealed for us, and we go through liberated and free from exile. And then we've got Torah. We've got this here. If we add that together, the ordinal regular and the ordinal Mispah Gadol, we get to 2068, which is 2 times 100 and 1039. Torah spelt out to the first filling comes to 938 plus 101. What's 101? Michael, the advocate. Okay, it comes to 1039. So we've got again a connection to this Torah. How many Torahs? 2 Torahs. The Torah of Moshe, the Torah of Moshiach ben Yosef need to come together for us in order for us to see this. Okay, and we can see that relation. It's glorious, but we don't attain the Torah. We don't attain this without advocacy, without that light of kindness to reveal the wisdom hidden within. We don't get to the kingdom of the Malkuth. We don't get to the Malkuth of Moshiach ben David. That's 496, the highest level of the filling of Yud, the highest revelation of truth that is to be found in Moshiach ben Yosef. We don't get that without advocacy, without the light of kindness, without our soul dominating over our body, even during exile, without us being able to see beyond the facade of evil into the heart of the matter. We don't get that. Torah does not exist without the power of advocacy. Let's find out what it is without the power of advocacy, without the 101, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's what it is. Without advocacy, that's what it is. Okay, it doesn't get us up here to this fulfillment. Okay, but without the tree of knowledge, there is no Torah. There is no tree of life. Without the tree of knowledge, there is no tree of life. Without immaturity, there is no maturity. Without exile, there is no redemption. Without accusation, there is no advocacy. Without the waves of judgment, there is no light of Chochmah. Without the darkness, there is no light. That's what we've just been told. So everything has a purpose. There's nothing empty or vain about anything. It's revealing that hidden purpose. It's revealing that hidden wisdom, that hidden light, and the power of advocacy, the power of our soul empowered with the truth is able to do that. And the fate of all men will be visited upon them, 1039. So without the rebellion, This is about the rebellion of Korach. Without the rebellion against the Moshiach, there is no submission to the Moshiach. He's not one without the other. So here you've got, I talked about surely God has remembered you, and it came up, didn't it, in that teaching that we've just looked at. We talked about Moshe, he was the Redeemer because he said the words pakad pakadte, surely God has remembered you, but it was just really saying the same words Yosef had adjured to Bnei Israel, when God will surely remember you, remember to take my bones out of here. So they couldn't get out of Egypt without the bones of Yosef because he'd made them promise to him. Okay, so the words were pakad pakadte that Moshe uttered related to the words that Yosef had said, when God will surely remember you, future tense. So now we've got Korach uv kudat yi poked. So it's related, these words, these letters, you can rearrange them and spell pakad pakadte, the Redeemer. So without redemption, you can see here, without the rebellion, there's got to be, you've got to take the darkness that is represented by Korach and transform that into the light that represents Moshe and redemption. Okay, you've got to transform even these really negative things like Korach rebelling against the concept of Moshiach, and I've talked about Korach lots. Without Korach, there is no Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, it's just one of those. I've talked about it a lot. I haven't got time to talk about it here, but so the fate of all men will be visited upon them. The fate of all men wasn't visited upon them. The earth of the ground, the mouth of the earth opened up and swallowed them alive. They went down into the pits alive. Okay, and I've talked about this. The gematria of the mouth of the earth, as it's written in Pirkei Avot, which is part of the Midrash. No, not part of the Midrash, part of the Mishnah. The Mishnah, the Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers. It lists 10 things that were made on Erev Shabbat, the eve of Shabbat, before the first Shabbat of creation. And the first on the list is called the mouth of the earth that swallowed Korach. And in there, the mouth of the earth is written P-O-R-X, and the gematria is 386, the same as Yeshua. Okay, so I've talked about this lots. Korach thought he was more superior than Moshe, and he wasn't, because he could see within himself his descendant Shmuel, who would go on to anoint the two kings of Israel, and Saul and David. He descended from Korach, but what he couldn't see was the greatness that Moshe would become. Moshe would become Yeshua, and then his final designation is Moshiach ben David. So he could see within himself, but he couldn't see who Moshe would become, and who Moshe would become swallowed him whole. It's all a coded message that's definitely linked to Yosef and Moshe. The unity of Yosef and Moshe is rebelled against by Korach. Need to overcome this power. What's the only way we can overcome that power to bring separation between Moshe and Yeshua, who were both Moshe and Yosef, who were both connected to these words? What is the power? It's the power of the Torah. It's the power of the Torah. That's the power that we've got to overcome this force. Right, in its time. So we haven't got the power of the full truth of the Torah. We haven't got the power of the Torah until we reach that time where where the light is revealed, where the truth is starting to get revealed, because we've gone through a process of rectification, and we're now able to stand at the very end of this time of exile, designated time of exile, and look back, and we've got the benefit of hindsight. And if we're smart enough, all we need to do is look, well, what's actually been happening then? And this is enough Torah. When we marry that up with the Torah that Moshe wrote and the Torah of Moshiach ben Yosef, the actual reality of the last 2,000 years this is the Torah that we've got to overcome any forces of doubt in the concept of Moshiach as revealed in the Torah. Okay, but it doesn't come It doesn't come. It only comes in its time. In its time, I will hasten it. Meaning, in its time, I will hasten the redemption. In its time is synonymous with truth. Be'ita, 477. It's got an ordinal of 45, which is related up here. The regular of all the fillings out come to 225, which is 5 times 45. We'll see what that means in a minute. Together they come to 522. So it's but the square regular of Be'ita comes to 131 times 1259. Same as this here, related to Korach. What's 131? That's related to, it's related to the binding of the sheaves, but it's 3 times 131 is Shiloh, the regular and the ordinal of Shiloh, and all that means. And I've gone over that loads in my teachings. There's so many things it's related to, but it's definitely related to this up here. We haven't got the force powerful enough to overcome this that prevents this from happening. And 220 is also 2 times 110. 110 is Yeshua HaMoshiach, the ordinal of Yeshua HaMoshiach. So it really comes against the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef as well. But let's go and have a look at some of these other numbers. Because you've got Emeth. What does in its time mean? It means the truth is revealed. It's related to the letter Vav that represents that truth. Okay, so only with the truth, when we get to that particular time where we can clearly see and perceive the truth, because we've basically endured the entire of the time of exile. So in its time, like once we get very close, he'll hasten it. What hastens it? A revelation of the truth hastens final redemption. But it comes in its time. The truth cannot be revealed any other way than through 6,000 years of history, and specifically the 2,000 years of Edomite exile that we've suffered. Okay, so truth, the regular and ordinal, 477. Yeshua, spelt with the Vav, so filled this way, is 522. So we can see in its time when we get the truth about Yeshua and the unity between Yeshua and Moshe, we will get the revelation of, we will get the redemption hastened. Okay, and then Adam equals 45. So we've got a connection to Adam with this letter Vav, and also Adam in its time, Be'ito. Okay, and then Adam, the square ordinal, is 186. The square ordinal of Yod He Waw is also 186. And from these Vavs up here, we can, like this Vav here, this is Vav on its own. This is Vav filled to the first filling, Vav filled to the second filling. So 6 and 12 and 24 comes to 42. This is the square ordinal of the second filling of the Vav. This bit up here was 144. Add those two together is also 186. So there's a connection between the concept of the Vav, the 6,000 years of creation, the inter-inclusion, the squared ordinal of Adam, and also the squared ordinal of Yod He Waw He. There is a unity. There's a unity between all those concepts. The truth, Adam, and Yod He Waw He, all united as one. Okay. And then we've got this concept here. It's wonderful, wonderful beyond measure. So Isaiah, the regular and the ordinal come to 6,381, which is 3 times 2,127 and 9 times 709. I've put C over extensive. We haven't got time to even look at that. I think we may have a look at this number here because it's so significant. But look, what is that? But Yosef said to them, don't be afraid, for am I instead of God? That could be actually read, don't be afraid, for I am instead of God. And I've talked about that before. He is instead. Elohim represents that darkness. That's the name given to that darkness that is hidden within it, is the light of Chochmah. The light of Chassidim is required in order to reveal that light of Chochmah hidden in that darkness. Yosef is basically saying, You see that darkness? I am that darkness. Okay, it literally can be reread because it says Wayoma Alehem Yosef El Tira'u Ki Hatachat Elohim Ani. It's because instead of God, I am. What's he saying? It could literally be saying, you see the darkness? I am that darkness, but hidden in me is the light of wisdom, and I needed one way or another, because without the darkness there is no light. And we're going to have to reach a place of maturity when we are able to look at Yosef and advocate for him, and even Moshiach ben Yosef advocate in order to raise his bones up and get us into final redemption, to see this fully revealed. So there's all kinds of glorious connections. We've got to start making them now, and this comes from a marriage of those two concepts, like I've said. So leprosy, the Moshiach, and Metatron, from an immature state to maturity. It's all about going from an immature state to maturity. Hey, there's a lot of good news. I've got some really good news. The good news is we have reached that time. We are now on the absolute final stages of final redemption. We have reached that time. We've simply reached the time where the truth is revealed that empowers our soul to do what is necessary to advocate for all that Yosef has done, because ultimately we're actually advocating for Yod-Heh-Wawi himself to reveal that hidden system of perfection that we need to see revealed in order to receive a revelation of the authority of Yod-Heh-Wawi and his sovereignty. And the kingdom of David is established on earth as it is in heaven. So guess what? We're actually in the final stage. We're really there. We're really there as far as I'm concerned. And this is good news. This is really good news. We've been through the entire cycle of the barley harvest, from mushy, watery stage to mushy, milky stage to soft and feeble, soft dough stage that can't resist, that is not strong enough to endure. It's not strong enough to endure the fire, to hard dough stage, to final ripening. We're at the final ripening. It's good news. We've endured exile for 2,000 years nearly. I talk about this all the time. We're right there. We're right there on the edge of redemption, on the dawn of redemption. We are there. Right, we've got this verse that's going to be connected back to what we've just been talking about. Guard me as the apple of the eye. In the shadow of your wings you shall hide me. Okay, I've just had to go back to this to show you where we're going from this. This number here, the 5,364, which is 36 times 149, Melech Goyim, because Yod-Heh-Wawi wants to be Melech Yisrael, King of Israel, and Melech Goyim, King of the nations. 9 times 447. Okay, and that's what we're going to be having a look at. We're linking this to this because this is wet and meth and truth. So we need the truth to overpower to give power to our soul, the truth, what Od Yosef Chai, that enables us then to be an advocate for everything Moshiach ben Yosef has been doing in this Edomite exile to bring about that final redemption. Okay, hopefully will take us to the right place. Right, so here, where do we get that from? The Mispah Gadol ordinal comes to 447, which is wet and meth and truth. The regular comes to, the regular ordinal comes to 413. If we add these together, these come to 860. Very significant number, because 86 is Elohim. We just had Amai in, or Yosef saying, it could be interpreted, I am instead of Elohim. I am instead of the darkness. You know, I've come to correct all these harsh judgments and reveal what's hidden in them. Okay, so that's connected to the word Elohim. Like I say, Elohim is 86, the gematria, so 10 times that. and 10 times anything is very much connected to it. It's just a magnification of it. Right, so we're just going to go through these very, very quickly. The Meshachim who lament in Netzach Hanod and stand in the gates of rebuilt Yerushalayim, 2,589, which is 863 times 3. So we've got a connection up there. And these are the two, the Meshachim who lament in Netzach Hanod. This is taken from the Talmud. Okay. Eliyahu HaTishbi, Elijah the Tishbite, comes to 94 ordinarily, 769, which is 863. So we're relating all these. Eliyahu Hanavi reveals the truth to Yaakov that empowers his soul to be able to become an advocate and usher in the Moshiach ben Dawid. And Eliyahu Tishbi precedes Moshiach ben Dawid. Why does he precede Moshiach ben Dawid? Well, because he's part of that whole giving the truth to Yaakov. He gives the truth to Yaakov. Yonah Hanavi reveals the truth to Yosef Chai. Eliyahu Hanavi passes that to Yaakov and empowers the soul. And I've talked about this in Tanakh. There's 5 times where Eliyahu Hanavi is missing a letter Vav. 5 times Yaakov has got an additional letter Vav. Okay, 863 is 151st prime, which is mikvah, sorry. Ivri onechi, this is what Yonah said to the children. He said, to the people that were asking him, who are you? And I went through an entire teaching on Yonah. This is we need to be able to say these words. This is the power that we have got within us to still the calm, to still the waves. Okay, it's knowing who we are, and Ivri Anachi, I am a Hebrew. To know this and the power involved with this, and it's synonymous with the truth, and it's also knowing that we have that spark of Moshiach within ourselves, that power, like what Yeshua was trying to teach Peter, to walk on water. We have the power within us to calm this storm, to calm these judgments down to nothing, so we can actually walk on them. Till they have, and the truth is so present in our lives, we can still the power of judgment itself. Okay. I am a Hebrew 365, which is exactly the same as HaMoshiach, the Moshiach. He had the power of Moshiach within him. Moshiach who? Moshiach ben Yosef. He, according to Kol Hator, Vilna Gaon, Yonah is an appellation, or he has been an appellation for Moshiach ben Yosef. 84 ordinarily, 447 together, which is We'emeth and truth, 447. That's the truth is one of the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed to Moshe within the letter of the Torah. So we can see it's up here, related to, it's again the power of truth, the spirit of truth. The prophet Yonah, the prophet Elijah. We've just looked at the 7 books. These are the 2 fish. These are the 2 fish. Eliyahu's one of the fish. Yonah's the other fish. Like I said, the letter Nun inverted that split up the book of Numbers into 3 books. What's the letter Nun? The beginning letter of Navi, prophet. Yonah ha-Navi, Jonah the prophet, Eliyahu ha-Navi, and the letter Nun, like I say, means fish. So you've got that connection. These are the 2 prophets that reveal and empower our soul with the truth. What truth? Od Yosef Chai. And these precede the revelation of Moshiach ben Dawid. Elijah must come before Moshiach ben Dawid, and it's just all synonymous with the truth. Taklith, perfection or end, taklith, and this is related to Yeshua as well, because he's called the end of the Torah. Taklith, he's the end, he's the goal to which we are reaching. The goal. Why is he the goal? Because look here, taklith. He's basically related to this whole concept of darkness, isn't there? And the light that's hidden in that. And there is no light without darkness. We read that Zohar. We've got to start to connect all these together. Behold, I have refined you. Okay, 860. This whole process of exile has been to refine us and perfect us. Avraham. So the Mizpah Gadol of Avraham, 808 plus 52, which is Moshiach. 41 is Moshiach ben Yosef. It's not Moshiach ben Yosef. It's Kiseh David, the ordinal of the throne of David, and the throne of David is Moshiach ben Yosef. So there's massive connections between Avraham and Moshiach ben Yosef. This is the kindness that we're talking about. The kindness that must overwhelm and reveal from within the darkness, that is symbolized by the name Elohim. That is the wisdom that's hidden in that. It's the kindness. And it says in the book of Micah, doesn't it? For the 13 attributes of mercy that are revealed in the book of Micah, give truth to Yaakov, kindness to Abraham. Okay, so they two must go together, kindness and truth. They're together, and it's even in the book of even in the Torah of Moshe, it's chesed ve'emet, kindness and truth. In the actual Torah of Moshiach ben Yosef, which is the chapter 7 of the book of Micah, you know, who is like unto God, and the opening of that is related to the name Michael, isn't it? Like let me just show you. Right, so you've got this from Micah 7. So this is the beginning of the 13 attributes of mercy that reveal the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh above the letter of the Torah. Okay, as opposed to the 13 attributes of mercy revealed to Moshe when he's in the cleft of the rock, that reveal the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh within the letter of the Torah. And what does it start off like? Who is a God like you? Who is a God like you? Who forgives iniquity and passes over the transgression of the remnant of his heritage. He does not maintain his anger forever, for he desires loving kindness. And then it continues with all 13 attributes of mercy, but it starts Mi El Kamocha, who is like you, God. Michael is a masculine given name derived from the Hebrew phrase Mi Ka-El, who is like El, who is like God. Okay, so we can see the connection between Michael and the Torah of Moshiach ben Yosef. So again, we've got that. We need to be the first 13 attributes of mercy are advocate, because it's an act of kindness to advocate. He's pointing us to Michael, who is the advocate. Okay, so again, Abraham Chesed. For the entire gate of my people know, so this is Ruth, that you are a valiant woman. Okay, 860. So that's related to all this. Okay, and she was the one that birthed Moshiach ben David, because she gave birth to Oved, who gave birth to Yishai, Jesse, who gave birth to David. Yerushalayim. Okay, so this is real. The ordinal of Yerushalayim is the same ordinal as Moshiach ben David. If we add, that's the Mizpah Gadol ordinal. If we add them together, come to 176. It's the same gematria as this, because Ruth gave birth to Moshiach ben Moshiach ben David, and Moshiach ben David is connected to the concept of Yerushalayim. King of Kings. So Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh is Melech, Malcheh, and Malachim. He is the king over kings of kings. Okay, Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh is the king over kings of kings. King David is the king of kings. Melech, Malcheh. Okay, and that's why you've got the 82 there again. 82, Moshiach ben David. However, the regular of Melech Malcheh and the ordinal of Melech Malcheh, the Mizpah Gadol of Melech Malcheh, come to come to 860. There's loads of powerful revelations here. This 764 is the regular and ordinal of Yimach Shemo Zikro, which is the curse with which Moshiach ben Yosef is cursed. So it's all related. It's all related. Without Moshiach ben Yosef, there is no Moshiach ben Dawid. Okay? And then you've got this related back to leprosy. It is Tzaharath. Who? Tzaharath. 772, which is 2 times 386, 2 times Yeshua. 88 ordinally. Okay? Which is Yonah plus Yonah. The ordinal of Yonah is 35. The ordinal of Yeshua is 53. Add them together at 88. Okay? Comes to 860. This darkness. It is leprosy. In this darkness is hidden great wisdom that we need to build the kingdom of David on earth as it is in heaven. Okay. And also this is a square ordinal, and let's just have a look at what this is. Okay, so Tzaharath as a square ordinal of 1464, Hu as a square ordinal of 62, and together they come to 1588, which is 4 times 397. Train up a child, Metatron. So like I say, this is leprosy, the Moshiach hidden in the concept of leprosy. Until we mature to reveal that light hidden in this darkness, we are under a guardianship called Metatron. We have not yet birthed the revelation of Moshiach sufficient enough to overwhelm that darkness and to take out the hidden wisdom within it. And as we can see from here, look, train a child according to his way. Even when he grows old, he will not turn from it. That's from Proverbs 22:6. It's got an ordinal of 397. This is 4 times 397. Okay. This is Metatron, who was Enoch. And you've got Chanok, which means train. Na'ah, the youth. It's talking about the fact that when we are like children, youths, we're under your guardianship of Metatron, because we like Peter, we haven't got the faith, we haven't got the truth to be able to walk on water, so we just sink. Okay, and until we reach that place of maturity where we've got faith in the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh and we can enter into a relationship with him face to face, we'll be under this guardianship called Metatron. It's a necessary evil. We have got to do the work. We have got to find the truth. We've got to reveal the truth. We've got to overcome the forces of evil that hide and conceal that truth. Our own ego, we've got to subdue it to the side of holiness, so that too can work with us to reveal the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh and not accuse and conceal the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh and cause more judgments, more concealment. We've got to get to all that maturity. We've got to see that happen. So we're not in this situation, and we're not where the Moshiach is appearing as a leper. Okay, we've transformed that darkness into revelation, wisdom that builds the kingdom of David on earth as it is in heaven. Mispagad all of this, 3,230. All these numbers are glorious, by the way. So the square ordinal of the entire system with which Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh operates, the system of revelation and concealment, it's called the Han-Hagah. Okay, Han-Hagah. This is the system, which is basically synonymous with the 5 stages of the barley harvest, the 5 stages of barley maturation, and the barley is a whole system of Moshiach ben Yosef suffering in exile with us to bring us to that place of maturation from death to birth. You know, like the barley seed had to die in order to produce the plant that would grow, that would bring forth the harvest. Okay, Yeshua had to die, be buried in the darkness, he had to be resurrected from the dead like a barley seed, to bring forth that ultimate revelation that there's only Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, nothing else beside him. So that whole system, the process of the barley, the different stages, the 5 main stages of the barley maturation, from pollination to maturation, and also the 5 stages of revelation of the perfection of Yod He Waweh. Okay, it's basically the whole system of Moshiach ben Yosef. So we can see that it's connected to this. So we're in a state of maturity, we are subject to the force of Metatron, but eventually we'll reach that place of maturation where we don't need a guardianship. Moshiach is fully birthed within. We have reached full maturity. We have got complete faith in the name Yod He Waweh and the system through which his name is revealed. Okay, which is basically the concept of the Moshiach. And we are a part of that system. We are a part of the very system of perfection. And then we've got this, look, it's connected to the luminaries, Hame'oroth. That's how they're spelt in the Torah, and they're spelt defective. They're missing 2 letter vowels. Hame'oroth, I talk about this all the time. Okay, spelt defective, missing the letter vav, the truth. What does it come to? 646, it's connected to this. 5 times 646 equals 3,230. So the defective state of the luminaries, which are synonymous with the Mashiachim, the Messiahs, Messiah ben Yosef, Messiah ben David, the full rectification of the luminaries, okay, is to go through this system where Metatron's in charge till we are mature enough to harvest the truth, reap the truth. 707, 7 times 101, 7 times Michael. Again, it's necessary. We've got to advocate in order to get us to that place where the luminaries are fully revealed and the Vav is fully revealed. Okay? Right, so finally, well, this isn't finally, we just need to get to this stage then. Yeshua walks on water. This is from Mark. And he says, and the disciples were utterly astounded, for they had not understood about the loaves, the barley loaves, but their hearts had been hardened. So he had to walk on water for them because they didn't understand the story of the 5 loaves. They'd just not hit the nail on the head with it. They were thinking, oh, this is absolutely marvellous. Look, we can get however much bread we want and there'll be left over. We've got to now go and have a look. What's problematic with this? You know, wanting bread. What's problematic? Why did he have to go and walk on the water and show them this and all that this is connected to? Because they weren't quite hitting the target. They didn't quite understand that they've got to grow up. You know, this journey of faith is not about getting a meal ticket. It's not about like opening our mouths like baby birds being expected to be fed forevermore. There comes a time where we have to fledge and get out of the nest and fly and soar for ourselves. We've got to get to a place where we're walking on the water. We've got to get to a place of full maturity. It's as simple as that. But when those waters are stirring up around us, okay, when those waters of judgment are stirring around us and we have not got what it takes to subdue those forces of judgment, we are left feeling like children, abandoned and frightened. And we need a guardian in this situation because we have got a lack of faith. We've got doubts. Why is this happening to me? I must be getting punished. I don't even know what I'm getting punished for. I can't. You know, we are confounded. It shows a lack of faith. We don't know the name Yod He Waweh. We're in a state of immaturity. And, you know, and in that situation, we're simply looking for a way out. We'd accept anything. You know, so you've got to understand, we've got to get out of that situation. You know, like even when we're hungry, it's not about expecting to be fed. It's about the difference between being in the wilderness, getting the bread rained down on heaven and entering into the promised land, and the bread from heaven stopping and toiling for the bread yourself to bring forth bread from the earth. Instead of eating this, there's all kinds of things that you could say about it. It's connected to the concept of the bread of affliction as well. You know, but they didn't get it. They didn't get that they needed to mature within themselves. But this is all for the future. You know, they was waiting to be fed something. Just like you're waiting for a saviour to come. Sometimes you have to be you have to be your own knight in shining armour. You know, you can't always just expect things to miraculously appear for you. You know, the process of maturation, yes, sometimes that's a part of the immature process, and it's necessary to experience some of those wonderful miracles that we've already experienced, and that divine intervention in our lives to get us from places of danger to places of safety. I've experienced them. But it's that next level of maturity is when we are toiling for ourselves to bring forth that harvest, to bring forth bread from the earth. And it's getting to that place of maturity, isn't it? Where we're not just like baby birds opening our mouth expecting to be fed. Well, pastor can do it, and well, vicar can do it, well, rabbi can do. You know, it's looking to ourselves to get to a place of maturity where we have got within ourselves the power to calm the waves of judgment and get out of that situation, the wisdom that's necessary to build up the kingdom of David on earth as it is in heaven. Somebody's got to do it. You know, we're waiting for somebody to come and do it. Guess what? Guess what? This story is very clear. We are to be found faithful, doing what we can in order to bring about that final redemption. Okay, I'm going to actually end the teaching there. So we didn't get through all the lesson objectives, so I do suggest that you subscribe, because the lesson has gone on a lot longer than I thought, but there's still some wonderful questions that we still need to answer. Okay, so I've brought the lesson objectives up. We've about covered these, haven't we? What do the waves on the water represent? How is Yeshua walking on the water related to Yon and Yosef, etc., etc.? What secret message is hidden in the story of Yeshua walk upon water? What power do we need to calm the waves of judgment, the truth, and chaos, and enter into final redemption and shalom? What is hidden in these ways that we need to find? So we've answered those questions. We've still got, should we be symbolically drinking Yeshua's blood and eating his flesh? What is the hidden message in this what is the hidden message in his message about the bread of life? Okay, this is really, really deep stuff, by the way. What did Yeshua mean when he said he will not drink of the fruit of the vine until he drinks it anew in the kingdom of God? We need to be there now with him. Okay, what can the barley harvest teach us about the progress of maturation we need to undergo in our journey of faith? How is this connected to the feeding of the 5,000? And why did Yeshua say, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh? What exactly does this mean? So we've got loads to look forward to in the next part. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this. This is a wonderful, wonderful teaching, very inspirational. You need to go really meditate even further on these concepts that we've shared together. And with that, I will say shalom.